Good evening, dear participants.
Good evening, sir.
Good
Yeah,
evening, sir. Good evening.
yes. Am I audible? Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we will start by the right time. Again, I welcome you all for the seventh day International Research Methodology Workshop on Bridging Paradigms and Mixed Method Approach. Sincerely welcoming you all, dear participants. And this event is a collaborative event which was collaborated with Standard College Manipur, Impal College Manipur, Cochin Konau College, Manipur. It is a joint venture along with Indian Sociological Society, IIDM, Integrated Institute of Disaster Management, followed by CMS College of Commerce and Science, followed by participants. Kindly please mute yourself. Mm, yes. So it is a collaborative event with all the colleges came together with this common mass. And as I told you earlier that we got proper approval from Andaman, which is going to be happened on January 30th and 31st, international seminar with publication. So those colleges who are interested to be part of this international venture, you are most welcome to send your approval, and we also will send you the updated MOU by Monday, since we are really highly preoccupied with Manipur works. Once everything is done, we will send you. Meanwhile, the colleges who are interested to join with us, please let us know your details so that we will prepare everything accordingly. So people, those who want to come to Manipur, the college who want to collaborate for Manipur, sorry, Andaman and Nicobar event in the month of January 2026, you can join with us and kindly send your willingness letter also. We will check accordingly with the authorities, and based on that, and we will move on with preparation of brochure and other details. Remember, this is also a joint venture along with Southeastern University of O-Level Sri Lanka, Department of Arts and Culture, sorry, Faculty of Arts and Culture, under the tutelage of Professor Dr. Fazil and Senior Professor Mr. Nijamir Kafur, and also from other universities from Sri Lanka and a few universities from Indonesia. And we are talking with one Switzerland university. And if they given their consent, it will be a complete international event venture. And requesting all the participants to join with us for this beautiful event. It is a 2 days event with the presentation as well as sightseeing, everything included there. Those who want to join with us, you are most welcome to join. Regarding today's session, let me come to the session. And today, resource person already he has given one beautiful lecture, Professor Dr. Sir Arul Sir. So today he is going to give the second class. So Professor Dr. Arul Octavit Krisra Sir, he is working as a faculty in the Department of Social Work, and he has been not only as a faculty, he is taking a lead role in research, and he was suggested by one of his student who admire most, Mr. Doctoral Scholar Divakar, and the concerned faculty helped him a lot while drafting the research proposal. Through his help only, Mr. Divakar got government funding, tribal research fellowship. So when we are taking the resource person from the slots, and he told me, sir, you have to give we have to take this, sir. He will be taking the class in such a way that everybody will be understanding the concept easily. So today, sir will be taking classes on the particular given topic, and without taking much delay, I'm not going to waste his time. As per the concern, we have to start at right time and we have to end at right time. So today, sir will be taking the class on ethical issues and quality standards in mixed methods. Dear participants, in yesterday class, the resource person touched somewhat about the ethical issues, and also the day before yesterday the concerned faculty also touches about ethical issues. Today, we will be knowing about deeper what do you mean by ethical issues and why nowadays ethical issue plays a very vital role while doing a research. If you are sending your paper for publication in Scopus, so they'll be asking one beautiful term called ethical committee approval. I'll be taking the last day class for you people while uploading the paper for Scopus. So these are the protocols that we are strictly supposed to be followed. Okay, so today's class will be we will give you, sir will be giving you in-depth analysis, in-depth details about the particular content. I hope that definitely it will be useful for all the participants. Again, I'm telling you, participants, this is not a place where famous for money making. No, we are not money minded. People who are coming to my conferences frequently, they knows very clearly who we are and what we are doing and how we are dedicated and committed to the process of research and development, right? And this is a progress. And so without much delay, let me handle this to the sir. As per the previous schedule, sir will be taking the class from 6:05 to 6:45. Remaining 15 minutes we have given for discussion. Okay, sir can take class more than 2 hours also, but we have requested the concerned faculty, all the resource persons, to complete the class by 7:45 so that we can keep remaining 15 minutes for discussion. Right? But many of you are not turned out for discussion. Please ask your doubts. Right? Sometimes you feel that it will be silly, no problem. Please ask your doubts so that you will be coming to know something which you doesn't know for in the process of research. Okay, requesting your kind cooperation. I have muted all since because yesterday again the problem started with other participants disturbing other. Knowingly or unknowingly, you might have mute yourself, unmute yourself, and you might be talking something which will be disturbing the class. So taking into consideration, I have muted all the participants. Only the host and co-host can talk. So after 7:45, again I will unmute all the participants. You can talk as well as interact with the concerned resource person. Without taking now, let me invite the resource person for the day, Professor Dr. Arul Octavin Krishraj sir, to take over.
Okay, thank you, sir, as for elaborate introduction as well as yeah. Good evening, all of you. I'm sharing my PPT. I hope it's visible. The slides are visible now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is completely
Okay.
visible and your video also visible, sir.
Yeah.
I have
Thank you, sir.
spotlighted your PPT as well as your video to the public.
Yeah, sure, sir. Thank you. So good evening, all of you. So like one of our previous session, I handled research method, mixed method research design. Likewise today, we are going to have on the third day, we are going to have seventh day. Today, we are going to have ethical issues and quality standards in mixed method research. Before starting the direct to the mixed method research, I will first talk about what are the ethics and the ethical issues and then what are the ethical importance of ethics in research and social sciences in a broad way. And then we'll move to the mixed method research, exclusively in mixed method research. So ethics is as a person, as an individual, we are supposed to have ethics in each one of you. Each one of us having ethics in our day-to-day life, at the same time in our personal as well as professional life, and it has its own life. And when it's come to research, what are the research ethics we supposed to following actually? So when it's come to research, the ethics is the foundation of the any form of form for any human research study. At the same time, ensuring that studies are concerned when it's come to integrity, respect, and accountability. Whatever research are we doing, so first 6 days you might have understanding about qualitative research, quantitative research, and then mixed method research, types of mixed method, and mixed method overview. And then how this ethics is when it comes to ethics, how it's playing vital role. For any kind of research, it should be done through integrity, respect, and accountability. At the same time, ethics it has its moral principles and guidelines also. In order to, when we are doing any kind of study, any kind of research, it should be responsible. It should be responsible for the research to whom we wanted to conduct for the participants, the sponsor institutions, even concerned participant as a individual, the researcher himself or herself. It should be ethically with the integrity. That's what the three things we start with when it's come to ethics, integrity, respect, and accountability. At the same time, that should be conducted through responsible, ethically, and integrity. So, what is ethics? These ethical principles as applied to the activity of mainly research. What are the risk factors? Also, one of the important when we want to follow the ethics. A risk for any kind of study we are doing, certain risks may, as a researcher, we may encounter in order to at the risk of research activity to safeguard the safety of yourself and others also. This ethics, why you wanted to follow it. The ethics, once we are following it, this might be helpful in order to encounter the risks we may face during the course of research time. These ethics also, it can be a legal framework and code of ethics. It may differ from the institution wise, maybe the country to country too also. And ethics is relevant to all the research. Even don't always think that biomedical research or life sciences, those who are dealing with only animal or human being, also only the ethics is supposed to follow. It's not like that. Even though across the sciences, social sciences and humanities, what kind of research we are doing also, so any kind of research also, these ethics are supposed to be followed. The ethical consideration, that's what ethical consideration in research are very much significant too. And how these ethical considerations are significant in order to protect the respect and the rights and welfare of individuals, those who are be participants of the research and who allow their information and body. When it's come to biomedical, if saying they may helping their body to used to for experiment. Even the experiment, the bodies, when bodies the experiment, at the same time, these research ethics, this considerations should be guide accurate scientific procedures for the research too. And as an individual, as a researchers, as a research team, is supposed to behave ethically when we are doing any kind of research. As a researcher, we have a responsibility to behave ethically. It's in terms of to be fair, not to cause any harm to others during the course of this research. This mainly we want to behave ethically in order to protect the rights of individuals, community. When we are dealing with individual, our communities, our environment, involved in the research, obviously is supposed to behave ethically in order to ensure or assure favorable climate of the public trust for continued research. Without the trust of the participants, we may not have a continue the research, because when we are going for data collection for time, obviously there's supposed to be the trust should be come with. You have to develop a researcher, we need to develop a trust from the participant, as well as the where we want to conduct the places also, people around there also, we need to have we need to have a trust. And in order to meet the public demands for accountability and legal codes of responsible behavior, this is also another important factor. And to whom are we ethically responsible as a researcher? This is another factor. So, as a researcher, first we are ethically responsible for our participants. As a researcher, we are going to have participants. If we are going to deal with the human studies, obviously the participants is very important. And if our study is mainly dealing with any form of human study, it's supposed to be, the participants also very important. Actually, they're also, we are very ethically responsible for them also. And the sponsors, if you have any research, and not only the PhD, even the PhD, as well as even any kind of research projects we are doing, the sponsors, the funding source, funding agency, also very much responsible. And the institutions, where the institution, the research is undertaken, even the college, even the colleges, especially universities, even then research institutions, also we are responsible. As researchers, we are responsible too. And I think the general public, general public, the research we are doing for welfare of the people. So research is not only for you doing for ourselves, it's for the people too. So obviously we are responsible for general public too. And ultimately, the research responsible for ourselves, especially if a researcher, we are doing for any research, we are responsible for ourselves also. That is also, we need to be keep in consideration, because we have to be ethically responsible for ourselves. Then automatically, once we started ethically responsible, then we will be responsible for all the other participants of the research and then sponsors, funding agencies, our institutions, and the general public too. The principles guiding research method, design, and implementation. When we are doing research, these principles guiding research methods, designs, and implementation is another aspect. So, what we expect when we are doing ethical aspect when we are doing any kind of research. First, very much started with exhibiting honesty. As an individual, we're supposed to be very honest towards ourselves and research. This is the first important. When you're doing any kind of research, we should be honest and objectivity and integrity. Objectivity and integrity in terms of which research design we are using it and how we are using selecting that particular research design and with research method we are doing for our own research and data collection time. During a data collection time, how are we putting ourselves, responsible? Then we need to be very honest towards data collection also and data analysis and reporting. Now I'm talking about in the little bit broader way. Then after later when we have after some time we'll have a mixed method. In the brief, in elaborately we'll have a in mixed method we'll discuss in elaborately about all these things and reporting too. Reporting and all other aspect of research from the selecting research statement of the problem till the writing and reporting too is supposed to be very honest. We never follow the honesty, objectivity, and integrity too. And the next one is a critically and carefully examining work. So when we are doing a research, that we have to very follow critically and carefully in terms of keeping good records and transparently sharing a research data and results and resources. So previously, Dr. Bennett also pointed out when the last session is going to deal with the application. That time also talking about even journals, they were asking for the data files when we are sending for any journal, reputed journals, they'll ask for data file, the source file for data analysis, what we've done for our particular research article. So that's what we're very transparent sharing. That if you could share transparently your data and results and resources. Obviously, your research might be you might have done in the honestly and proper way. The procedures might be followed. That's what the transparent is supposed to be, and then accountability towards your research. That's what in the data, results, and resources. And another thing is showing respect for intellectual property rights. That's what intellectual property. Nowadays, intellectual property rights also is another important word. So ethics also is when it comes to intellectual property rights also we have to be very keen about towards intellectual property right. We need to follow keep in mind that how much our research is dealing with the patents, copyrights, and research methods in order to avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism also is the another important factor when we are dealing with intellectual property rights. So the patents are the how much whether our research we are doing in terms of getting patent or whether if you are using any kind of patent for your research also you have to keep it in mind. If you are using any copyrights also in different ways are there. Each one how you are using you have to authenticate. That's what in order to avoid the similar to avoid the plagiarism. Plagiarism is another important is a big ocean we have. So how to avoid the big plagiarism also you need to keep it in mind. And protecting confidential communication. The communication, another thing is they have to keep it in mind. And publishing constantly to advance research and striving to promote social responsibility. In order to avoiding discrimination, obeying laws. So each institution, if you're taking any university, it has its own code of ethics when it's come to research. So there clearly they will mention like when we are doing, especially in India, I hope all the education institutions, especially universities, under research institutions, they have autonomous bodies in terms of research. They have their own code of ethics for doing a research. So that's what they clearly mention. What are the how to do research or code of ethics? In fact, they usually they mention this avoiding discrimination and then obeying laws and the institution policy. That's what I wanted to highlight here. The institution policies mainly when it's come to research, they have a code of ethics. Usually every institutions are following it. And mainly they're respecting human and animal dignity and autonomy. So This is called institutional policy. They have a institutional ethical committee. They have a separate institutional ethical committee for human, institutional ethical committee for animal also. That how we are we going to respecting human and animal dignity and autonomy also is mainly they will be dealing with. And now we'll go in the general form of ethical guidelines. So very first one, informed consent. The next is risk of harm, anonymity and confidentiality, conflict of interest, voluntary participation, validity of the risk tool, fair sampling, compensation, research misconduct, plagiarism, fabrication, and falsification, institutional ethical committee. We are going to see in the brief manner about all these things now. So when we are doing research, we need to keep it in mind. All these things very important. The first one is when we are doing research, if you're going for data collection, you may say your tool should have a informed consent. Before that, informed consent, if you're going to directly collecting the data or using any form of human study, you're supposed to have an informed consent. That's what from the Tencent Lincoln 2011 already stated that informed consent is a cornerstone of ethical research. The ethical research, informed consent at the same time is a fundamental ethical requirement, but its application in mixed method studies can be complex that will be seen in deeper later. And when it comes to qualitative research, it's often with the methods with the previous classes also might have seen qualitative research. It has open-ended dynamic interaction. And the quantitative research could be like it's the structured data collection will be there. And researcher must take us sure participants understand how the data will be used in both phases of the study. And we are going for mixed method research is obviously going to be how the data you are going to collect and then whether the data which you are going to collect from the participants, how is the data is useful for the study also should be known by the participants too. To illustrate, if the study include interviews followed by the surveys, participants should be informed about how their responses will be integrated and analysis also should be known to the participants. That's what the informed consent. When we are going to take a survey, that time the participant should be informed about what purpose that will be seeing, the purpose, the study purpose, the procedure, and potential risk should be communicated in transparently to the participants of the research. And that's what, see here, the participants must be fully informed of what will be asked from them, how the data will be used, and what if the consequence there could be. If there are any consequences when we are in the research, that also we'll keep it in mind when we are going for informed consent. And then the participant must provide by the researcher to exclude active signed consent, signed orally as well as written and oral informed consent should be taken from the participant by the researchers. Even the research team should be from the part of the research, including understanding their rights to access their information and to withdraw at any point. That's a very important one. The understanding of the right to access the information and the right to withdraw at any point by the participants also we have to inform very clear. And the informed consent process can be seen as the contract between researcher and participants. That's what we need to say. In another form, we can say informed consent can be seen as a contract between the researcher and participants. And what are the aspects of informed should be clearly explanation in the informed consent. First one is who are the researcher are. Their informed consent that can be included who are the researcher or researchers. If it's one researcher, PhD means a single researcher. If you're doing it, is the researcher. Even in projects we're doing for any researcher team, then we have to clearly mention researchers or what are the intent of the researchers. Main intent of the research also will be clearly mentioned. Should be mentioned also. And what data will be collected from the participants. So what purpose? What are the data we are going to be collected from the participants also we are clearly mentioned in the informed consent. How the data will be collected from participants also. So whether we are going to have we are going to collect the interviews or interview schedule, or survey method, or quantitative or qualitative, any kind of method also you have to clearly mention in the informed consent. What level of commitment required from the participants also. So whether they require any kind of commitments is required because it will take for time duration also because of taking part for data collection. It may take 30 minutes or 1 hour, or 200 or even 2 hours. It depends on the durations and then whether they how supposed to be commitment towards the research also it will be clearly mentioned, and then how the data will be used and reported. That also we can may point it out in a simple way that this research data will be used for academic and then research purpose only. It will be that also have to be, and then how we are going to report it also in the form of PhD study or publishing an article or in a project. That also we have to be clearly mentioned in the informed consent. And what are the potential risk of taking part in the risk? Sometimes there might be a potential risk, maybe happen during the depends upon the research. It can be depends upon the research. Maybe any kind of potential risk may be. Some research may not be any risk, but sometimes when we are dealing with any kind of human form research, there might be a certain risk be there. And so now we previously have seen only the informed. Now the consent, what should be clearly mentioned? An opt-in approach rather than opt-out. The consent you have to mention. It should be clearly passive. Consent should be mentioned when it's come to that. And the information on the right to withdraw. That's what the previous one also we have seen. The right to withdraw at any time without reason, including withdrawing data already provided also you have to be clearly mentioned. And then assurance that participants' identity will keep confidentially. So there's another thing that the information which you are collecting from the participants will be kept confidentially. That's what you have to mention, and the informed consent also have to be carefully have to follow it. And then clarity of ownership of the data. The participants own their raw data, the researcher own their analysis data. See there the differences. The clarity of ownership of the data. The raw data owned by the participants of the research. The researchers own the analysis data. Okay, the data will be given by the participants, the raw data. But the researcher, what we are doing, we are collecting the data from the research participants and then we are analyzing. And then they right to access their data. Obviously, participants should be given right to access their data too. Then, because they only given their data for our own research. That's what you have to keep in mind. The right to ask for more information. Obviously, the right to ask, if they are asking for any kind of information regarding the research, they have entitled to ask more information about the research. At the same time, the information of the compliant process, sometimes it may be during the process, contact details should be the researcher along with the research supervisor when it's come to our chair of the ethics committee. If there any problem arise during the research during the data collection time, the information, that's what the researcher's information or the PhD when it's come to the supervisor or the chair, sometimes they use, sometimes that can be used for, because to whom we can complain about it actually. So this information should be given also. Then very importantly, I'd like to ask if anyone can answer it. I hope the participants are here. So the informed consent when we are dealing with children, any kind of research, whether the children means under the, under 18 years of age, they consider defined as children in India. So I would like to ask this question to all of you. Anyone can, answer it. From who do you obtain consent from? Whether children consent or parent consent or cat keeper consent. Cat keeper means if they are in the children's home, to whom we want to get a consent. Anyone can? Anyone? I go. Anyone of you here can answer?
Sir, we have locked the meeting, so they can only
Oh,
chat, sir.
okay, chat. Okay, I will check it actually. Even with the
Okay.
chat, that will be better actually. You can answer in the chat also. To whom you want to obtain the consent. You can say whether the child or parents or the if they are in the children's home, whether you want to take caregiver, I mentioned is the guardian. Any answers? All of you? Anyone of you please respond? That will be better to move on. Okay. Okay. There's no response, I hope. Okay. So when we are conducting research towards with the children, we need to have a consent from child. If they are with the child, with the parents should be concerned. We have to get it from the parents as well as child. If the child is in the home of an orphanage, then should be the cat keeper. That's a guardian of the home. Also, we need to obtain a consent. The child as well as the guardian too. So from these, you can see from the guidelines from the UNCS, there is a United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. It's already clearly mentioned the Article 13, 12, 13, and 42 clearly mentioned when we are doing a research with the children, we need to have a informed consent that the children are entitled to say. I just want to read it out. Entitled to see, receive the import information. They have right to know what the research is and about what is involved. Adults have a responsibility to ensure the information makes sense to children, and the research does not place them at harm. That's what very importantly, the research should not have any harm towards the yeah. Some of them already respond as Dr. Jadhav responds to parents. Yeah, that's right. And the children have the right to give their opinion about research and participation, and for the adults to listen and take children's view seriously. That's what. So obviously, that's what we want to say when we are dealing with research with the children. They need to obtain consent from their parents. If parents is not there, should be consent from the guardians of the if the orphanage is there, orphanage any kind of home the children is there, then we want to get a consent from their respective the guardian. As the children should be the same time, the children should be aware about their rights in research. The researcher should know about these rights and help the children learn about them too. That's also we need to keep it in mind. And so till now we have seen the informed consent, how we are going to deal with and the means of the children's too. So when might informed consent not to be appropriate also, we need to consider. Observation in public places. So very importantly, there are no reason in public places, there is no need for any, public places in the observation. And research initiating deception. When we are doing deception, if you're acquiring any trick, for example, if you are journalist for journalism towards journalism, you are dealing with, you want to know about researching towards any in deeper or dark level research, that if they're investigating kind of research the journalist is doing, that there is no requirement for informed consent, where we cannot go for informed consent. And then covered research, any sometimes this kind of research there are no need, because social sciences may not be doing this, but when you're going this kind of research and there we have to be consider there is no need for informed consent, where if you're going for informed consent there will be problem for, because the research we cannot do if the participants know about the research also. And using data in the public domain, the certain data is available in public domain, for that there is no need for informed consent. If already certain data is already available in public domain, for example, the internet, the website, respective websites, it's already available, or the library information is available, or any department's records is available, there we no need for informed consent for collecting using the particular data. And next one is previous one. Till now we have seen informed consent. Now we'll see the risk of harm, anonymity, and confidentiality. So the first one is the identity of the participants kept confidential. That's what we have seen. The identity is very important. The identity of participants should not be revealed by the researcher. This should be always kept confidentially, or other we have to mention anonymously. And assurance extend beyond, that's what we have to already, even in the informed consent also to the participants, that your information will be kept confidentially also, they will mention, that's what that. And then their names to also include the avoidance using self-identification statement and information. Anonymity and confidentiality are the important step in terms of protecting their participants from potential harm. So these only help sometimes if you're doing any research, it is harmful towards participants, then obviously you need to maintain, even any kind of research we are dealing with a human being, then we have to maintain confidentiality in terms of the data which is collecting, and then the participants information also. Participant anonymity means the participants identity are unknown to the, sometimes anonymity and confidentiality, there are two terms. Anonymity means sometimes we may not know, if you're going for online surveys, for example, online surveys or like anonymous survey, there sometimes the participants identity may not be truly unknown to the researchers. The confidentiality means where the participants information should be known by the researcher, maybe directly may be collected by the researcher, by the information directly collected by the researcher from the participants mean, then the researcher might be knowing about the participant. That process, that's what the participant in confidentiality should be de-identified. De-identified means the identification should not be revealed. The identity should be kept confidential. That's what the example. For example, interviews where the participant identities are known to the researcher, therefore only confidentiality, not anonymity, can be offered. Then next one we'll move to conflict of interest. It's another thing, conflict of interest. So any research, if you are doing it, there might be a conflict of interest by the researcher. Sometimes there might be conflict of interest toward the research. That's what we see here. Existing relationship or prior activities by the researcher can potentially create a conflict of interest. Where the important group transparent reports in the ethical application. The committee can provide guidance to how to manage this conflict of interest. Sometimes the researcher wanted to get benefit out of any kind from the research. This also can be a conflict of interest in terms of financial interest, impartiality in performing official duties, issues of positions, representation, gifts, activities with the outside organization seeking other employment. So when we are doing research, there might be chances of conflict of interest by the researcher. All these things can be gifts, a representation, active with the outside organization can be done. There are possibilities, and then seeking other employment also. There can be and misuse of positions also there are possibility. For example, say reviewer when received now in the form of conflict of interest, there are examples. If the reviewer, when receive a research paper where the author is his friend, develop a personal interest, which is results into conflict of interest. There are possibilities. That's what when we are as a reviewer, if there might be some of the reviewers might be here in this form of the participants also. When they are sending the reviewer form also, they might be asking about it actually. Even for example, if you're going for correcting a paper or examination hall, they will check whether your relatives in the exam hall or whether any one of the students of your relatives also is there or not. They will be asking actually. There will be a question which should be there when we are before going there. That's what the conflict. There might be some benefit out of that. That's what. Another thing is, see, author has any religious belief on political opinion related to the topic of research. That is also conflict of interest. And representing a family member in a court. That is also this for examples. And then benefit related to outcome of work also. These are just examples of conflict of interest COI. And next one is voluntary participation. Till now we have seen it should be the participant should withdraw any time without any proper reason. They can withdraw from, and that's what we have to inform consent. We have to keep it. You have to clearly mention about it. You have to inform them about the participation is voluntary. That's what the voluntary participation, one of the ethical guidelines that is enshrined by the international law on various scientific courses. Even any kind of scientific course of conduct in terms of research or of ethics, we have clearly mentioned the voluntary participation should be mentioned. The ethical guidelines. And then research participants have chosen to partake without being influenced by outside pressure or pressure. That's what another thing is. The research participants have chosen to partake without being influenced by outside pressure. So that's what sometimes the researcher might be through some influence, they may ask the influence to take part in the research. That should not be done. The researcher should have a freedom. Then participation should come from within, voluntarily from the participants. That's what we have to keep it in mind. Then only when we are collecting data or information we have to gather from the collecting from the participants, we need to get actual data. If someone is influenced in order to take part in the research, there might be a chance of getting we may not get proper data sometimes. There are possibilities too. So that's what where the voluntary participation should be keep it very clearly. And the researcher must ensure that the subjects understand they are free to live. That's what study at any time without providing an explanation, and that they won't experience any negative consequences or negative consequences also. That's what you need to keep it in mind. So the research, the participants, if they are in the take part in the research, we want to during the in the mid of the research data collection time, if they won't wanted to continue it, they are free to leave. And if they leave from the in mid of the study, there should not be any harm towards participants. That's what we have to keep it in mind. And obtaining and maintaining voluntary participation is especially critical for vulnerable groups of people who may find it more difficult to withdraw from experiment of their own accord. That's what even in vulnerable groups, there are different kind of vulnerable groups are there. Which kind of research we are going to deal with. For example, and I will go to in India, there are different forms we have. So it's we have to keep it in mind. Once we are dealing with any research, if you're in terms of vulnerable group, you have to keep it in mind. They are very vulnerable in terms of their existence. So we have to keep it in mind whether if they are going to deal with any kind of research with them, you need to keep in voluntary participation. You have to ensure that the voluntary participation is taking part. And now next, the qualitative one is like when it's come to validity, the tool. And then the scientific validity used to be evaluated whether the purpose of research justified feasible in order to that study. That's what it's not only the clinical trial or study designed with the legitimate principles, clear research method, and reliable practices also. So when we are doing with the validity, that should be always related with the legitimate principle, clear research methods, and reliable practices. That was mainly this validity is mainly going with the quantitative research in terms of we may validate about the research, the tool which you are going to use in the qualitative research. Well, all of you might be knowing like the quality is supposed to have a for any tool we are dealing with, validity is supposed to be ensured about the in terms of qualitative tool about the quantitative research, and that also measure produce the results because of the validity is there only. Then only you can see the data, the consistent with the real characteristics, variations, and properties in the physical or social world. That's also we need to keep it in mind. If scientist data collection and other research method are not valid, the conclusion drawn from the study will not be either. That's what. If the data, because of the tool and then the information we have collected, that's not proper validity is not there, then obviously the research, the conclusion won't be valid also. So that's what we need to keep it in mind, the validity about the research when we are in the quantitative part. Then fast sampling, another important one. See the previous one, just wanted to see. So that point we see that they won't experience any negative consequences. They can feel free to, they are free to leave at any time. Why we want a fair sampling means when we are selecting samples, refer to the specific groups into the form used for data collection. When recruiting the research participants, the researcher, the scientists must took in the goal for the study, whether the selected people, there's a participants who are asked accept the risk of the harm and could enjoy the benefit and ensure the specific groups, especially such as women and children, are not exposed with a specific severity. So why you want to mention the fair sampling here when we are collecting the participant depth, and then we have to properly, we need to follow the when we are doing for selecting the research participants. So here I mentioned certain thing, and then we have to whether which design are we using in the quantitative research. They're selecting whether properly we procedure are we following it or not. That's what we have a sampling error. We used to put depends upon the population. In the population as sampling population, we may use sampling error. It's different from the 5% and then 10%. If it's a vulnerable group, if the study is done through a vulnerable group, you may go for 15% or 20% as extreme also. We have a sampling error also, you might be using it. That's what the fair sampling, the procedure is supposed to be followed through. And that depends upon even qualitative study also to whom we want to collect. Whether are we collecting without any conflict of interest, the samples we are collecting, that participants for the research, that also we need to keep it in mind. And then compensation. This is another factor, compensation. So nowadays, even it's already existing one, compensation for research participants, maybe monetary, non-monetary, including cash, voucher, course credits, or gift cards. That might be research. Even I have been like experienced that monetary benefit. Monetary benefit also, if even there was a researcher when the researcher came to me, she asked me to the researcher asked me to fill the questionnaire. Once I fill the questionnaire, I maybe have a recharge as well as I may get some good amount of um, chocolates or something is being given to me actually when we are being the recharge once if I fill the questionnaire. So what I as a participants, what I felt is sometimes if I fill, I may get it like then there are possibility for myself also. I can give the proper data, the compensation. Because as a participants also spending its own is their own valuable time for the research. So that compensation also one of the important one, whether the compensation towards the research participants may be monetary, non-monetary, that's part of even the cash vouchers, even the course credits, or gift cards. It depends upon the research and then researchers availability also. So it can be done because then why you wanted to follow this because of ethical also. It is a ethics also because the research participants also as individuals they are spending their own valuable time and then giving information for our own research. Then for them is giving that compensation. So that's what the payment plan should be practical and fair, but also not so gray that they were compromise informed consent. That's what you have to keep it in mind. So these compensation should not compromise the informed consent. That also you need to keep it in mind. So the monetary benefit for the research also research towards to research participant can be given, but it should be how to inform concern also you need to follow, and then other thing also conflict of interest also you keep it in mind. And research misconduct also might be, you need to keep it in mind. Another one is research misconduct. So, for example, an unethical act that results in the waste of funding and resources while undermining academic and institutional credibility. So, the research, that's what the first one when I started with. It should be, we need to be very honest when we are doing any research. The collected data, analysis time, we need to be procedures, analyzing procedure, selecting the samples, and then following the procedures about, methods, everything you have to be very honest towards the research. That's what, then there won't be any ground for research miscontext. Whether if it involves intentionally making up data, manipulating analysis, or misrepresenting reporting, and the consequences can be grave. Obviously, if you're not doing properly, then obviously the result sometimes won't be there. So that's what you need to keep it in mind. You need to always should be use your research, do your research with honesty and wherever during all the course of time, till the reporting. That's what you need to keep it in. Research misconduct should not be done. Is that's what there are chances for. What are things called as a misconduct? Is that's making up data. There are possibility. There are people might be done without going to the field. They may have come with a huge amount of data. There are, it's happening also. It's very sad to say, feel to say, even the people they're having making up data. So that is not be done actually. That's the unethical. That's what we always say. You need to be very ethical. We're supposed to follow on manipulating data. And then we may collect for 100 samples. We're supposed to collect for 300 means we may collect for only people are sometimes collected only 100. They'll be like, changing it to 300. It's called manipulating. And then after that, what we are analyzing. And then this also misrepresent reporting actually. They may have a certain data, results may come, but what we do, they have manipulate the analysis and then actual reporting won't be done. They may misrepresent the reporting through the manipulated data. Then the consequences. Why the consequences can be grave when it comes to India. So if you have a plagiarism levels also we have level 0, 1, 2, 3 is there. You can go through it. What are the consequences? That's what once you find out, that will be difficult. You cannot simply come out of it. That's what, because we suppose when you're doing any research, we need to be very honest towards our research. We need to follow very ethically. Then obviously we need to think about the consequences of the misconduct, research misconduct. Plagiarism, that's what another next one is. It's about the continuity of the research misconduct, plagiarism, fabrication, and falsification. That's what majority is happening actually when it's come to plagiarism and fabrication and falsification. The plagiarism, it's about what we call as, is submitting someone's ideas, processes, and words, results, unintentionally or not, sometimes without providing proper citation. Because it's kind of, theft only. Stealing others' work, others' ideas, process and words and results. Yeah, with intentionally, unintentionally also, because once whatever we need to, that's why the review literature, we need to cite. We are writing it when interpretation time also, whatever we always taken from someone's ideas, only you need to properly use the cite it actually. That's why once you have cited it, there is no need to worry about your plagiarism matter. And it also consider ethical misconduct for scientific to resubmit their own work as part of it and present it as a new being published in previously. See? Also be considered ethical misconduct. That's what the previous one. So when the researcher makes up the data or results and refer to the fabrication, that's what the fabrication also is like the previous one. See, the scientific, maybe the material process equipment, Thomas information is few results also. It's another one fabrication. Another thing is like falsification. This also is a plagiarism, fabrication, falsification is a huge one that will be dealt with the last session of the work. I'm not going to deep about this. And any research professional who commits one or more of these misconducts not only put their career at risk, but they also degrade the overall reputation of the institutions of science. That's what. Even there are cases for even the people might be, their career, their job also, dismissed. There are happens, occurs in our country too. When there are a number of cases already happen, you can get to know already. You can get to know from the, if you put it like, distract from the rector from the research also, you can see how many people are, total plagiarism. They caught, they lost their job. Even the higher position people also they lost their job. I don't want. You can. You might have known friends. There are people also. It's happened too. And one other important, I just wanted to say plagiarism. We cannot check the plagiarism, but we can exactly check the similarity only. We can check it. But the plagiarism is about someone's idea, process, words, or research. It can be without providing proper citation. Even for example, even Turnitin or authenticate any other, plagiarism detection software, they may be checking the similarity with the other content only. So that's what you will keep it in mind. Always you need to, then whatever study you're writing, always have a proper citation. And then institutional ethical committee, the last one about, the guidelines, institutional ethical committee. So our institutional review board will be there sometimes. But here, institutional ethical committee also is there. It has a both. That's what I previously told you. Institutional ethical committee, it's a human as well as animal. There are two committees in the universities level. They have a separate institutional ethical committee for human, institutional ethical committee for animal also be there. When as a social science, those who are doing mixed method social sciences or behavioral sciences, behavioral or humanities, when we are going to deal with the humans, we always keep it in mind. We need to get a ethical committee clearance from the institutional ethical committee, whichever institution, because almost all the institution might be having institutional ethical committee. University level, they might be having, even certain research institutions also, they having institutional ethical committee. Is supposed to follow it. We need to submit our proposal with all this proper, even with our tool also. Tool and informed consent also. They might be checking. So the institutional ethical committee, they will be checking your proposal and your tool with along with the informed consent also they will be checking. Once they satisfied only, they will give the clearance towards proceed to the research. Because that's what the authority, they are the authority to approve and record modification. If there is a change, any changes, they will be checking. Even when we are doing for any social behavioral studies, we have in India, we have ICMR guidelines. So, in Council for Medical Research, we have a separate guidelines. We have under that how the institution is supposed to form an ethical committee, how is supposed to submit, and then how the committee is supposed to proceed with the clearance of the research. Also clearly mentioned in the. You can get it to this ICMR guidelines on human studies or behavioral studies. You can get it. You can get it. If not, I will show you actually. That can be shown. Just a minute. Yeah, this is the guidelines. I hope is visible. This one, social and behavioral sciences for, especially for health, from the ICMR, National Ethical Guidelines for Biomedical and Health Research involving human participation. Even if you're doing any kind of research dealing with the human participation, the Institutional Ethical Committee always following this ICMR guidelines, Medical Council Research guidelines, they used to follow it. They'll be following it. Yeah. Now we'll move to ethics in mixed method research. Even a little bit previously, a little bit touched upon the importance of no, till now we have seen ethical in research, and then little bit I touched upon this mixed method research also, ethics in mixed method research. So mixed method research, the ethics, because previously we did quantitative, qualitative, and then all these the guidelines we have seen previously from the informed consent, or participation variability, and then the institutional ethical committee. All these things we need to keep it in mind. Just keep it in mind, even qualitative, quantitative. So you can just put, you can see, answer any response from, you can put it in the chat box. Where do you think ethical issues might arise when mixing methods? When we have a mixed method, so obviously you might know quantitative, qualitative mixing. That depends upon the research designs, which our research design we are adopting, depends upon the, there might be chances of ethical issues. You can give some response. What are the ethical issues might be there when it's come to mixed method? You can give a response. One or two response. I hope the screen is visible now. Okay. Some response. And so is there any response? You can check it. Now, what I'm asking you, just go through the slide, the question. Where do you think ethical issues might arise when mixing method? Any response? You can put it in the chat box. One response? Okay. I just put it in the text actually. You can type it in the chat box. Okay. I couldn't see actually. Fine. We'll move to, I don't want to spend my time. So there might be, even when we are mixing the qualitative data, it depends upon the weight, it depends upon the mixed method designs. There might be chances of ethical issues too. So why ethics matter when it's come to mixed method? So we are having multiple data sources. So obviously, even if we are doing for even qualitative study or quantitative study, there are already there may risk was there, and then ethics is supposed to follow. When we have multiple data sources, that's what even if we're having for sequential or concurrent or multi-phase, there are three mainly different types of mixed designs. If we're using it, there might be chances, obviously, in risk also might be there. Then participant burden might increase. Obviously, the qualitative research or quantitative research, there might be a participants risk informed consent. At the same time, you're going to deal with both data and the participants also the more number. There are chances, the number of participants also for both quantitative as well as qualitative data study. Obviously, then when it's got mixed study, the number will be increased. So obviously, the participant burden also increase, and then complex data handling and interpretation, and then complex data, quantitative and qualitative data collecting, and after collecting, handling, how we are going to interpret. During that time, the process of collecting data collection process and interpretation time, there are chances of ethical issues. Ethical conversation became more complex and multi-phased. Why? The reason is you're going to deal with even both data, so quantitative and qualitative. So the MMR always combine the depth of qualitative methods with the breadth of qualitative data collection, offering a comprehensive understanding of complex phenomena in social science research and beyond. When it comes to integration of these both data, it also raises unique ethical challenges to the researcher that must be navigate throughout the research process. So when we are going for this data collection, after that, after integration time, it depends upon the research designs is differ. How we are going to integrate, but these two data is depends upon the research design. So obviously that's what the researcher must navigate throughout the research. Why you want to say whether you want to have a sequence or concurrent or multi-phase design. So it depends upon that. It might be there are chances for unique ethical challenges might be happen. At the same time, it's about the continue the growth of popularity across disciplines. So nowadays, even mixed method research is widely the number of people undertaking using mixed method research design for the research is increasing because it's become popularity, and the understanding its ethical dimensions is critical for research. At the same time, we need to be consider it's about the researcher, students, and the institutional review boards also we need to keep it in mind. By addressing these challenges thoroughly, proactively, researcher can ensure that their work not only advance the knowledge but also respect the rights and dignity of the participants. Like a previous one, what we have seen, same thing also we need to follow when we are the quantitative study or qualitative. The same thing we need to follow, but we need to always vigilant towards how ethics ethical consideration are we following it. That also we need to keep it in mind. So the researcher can ensure that their work not only advantage the knowledge but also we need to respect the rights and dignity of the parties. When I started with this session, I said integrity and the respect the rights of the individual, the participants also we need to keep it in mind. The dignity, because of the dignity of every individual. So human being, it's also we need to be, we need to respect also. We need to follow, we need to maintain the dignity of the participants also. Then ethical issue specific to mixed method. What are the ethical issues might be occur when we are going for mixed method? For this mixed method, we supposed to have a separate consent for informed consent should be maintained for both quantitative as well as qualitative. That's what separate consent forms, informed consent supposed to be maintained. And combining data sets may reveal identities. Sometimes there are chances. That's what we need to very clearly mention. The data sets, when the identity when the chances for identity revealing, we need to de-identify the information about the participants. We should not give any scope for the researcher. We should not give any scope for reveal the identity about the participants. That's what we have to de-identify the identity of de-identify the information about the participants. Also, we need to keep it in mind. and that power imbalance in qualitative interview. There are chances for ethical issues might be occur when it comes to power influence in the qualitative interviews. At the same time, the role conflict, the interview, the analysis take. Even if the interviews is there, sometimes if a focus discussion is happening, or in mixed method research, if you are following like qualitative and quantitative, there are sometimes the research team is undertaking. There are sometimes the research done by the data collection done by the only individual. Sometimes even research, when we're going for research, even a specific vulnerable group, sometimes we are supposed to have follow as a male researcher undertaking woman, the dealing with the woman research, especially the person with disability, when it's come to woman or any kind of dealing opposite gender. At that time, there are possibility we supposed to have deal with the if the male researcher is not able to collect the data from the human participant, then obviously you have to use we have to get through the help of enumerator. There are concepts of role conflict also. There are possibility enumerator sometimes the research team, data collection time, and then cultural sensibility across method. Cultural sensibility because it depends upon the to whom we are collecting, from which community. Community also matter. The cultural aspect also we have to keep it in mind when we are collect during this research time course of time. We need to check about cultural sensibility, which community, and then from the vulnerable group or which section of the community to whom we want to collect. All this we need to keep it in mind. We have to follow thoroughly cultural sensitivity across the method, whether quantitative or qualitative, which kind of method, which is we are following, whether the sequential or concurrent multi-phase, all during that we need to keep it in mind. And then ethical concern, transparent about the purpose and mixing. What is the purpose and mixing of that particular data? Depends upon that. There should be transparent towards that. And then participant burden, and then survey. Sometimes even exploratory research design or explanatory research, for example, explanatory sequential design. There be the participant might be the same participant can be used for quantitative as well as qualitative. Sometimes the same participants is giving information for quantitative data study as well as qualitative study, means there might be chances for the burdens towards giving burdens towards participants. That also we need to keep it in mind. There is an ethical concept towards it. Then managing candidate results ethically. So how are we going to conduct results ethically? That's what, like, sometimes the researcher may expect certain results. We have an example of previous next one. We may expect something as a researcher, but the results may be contradict me. So how we are supposed to deal with that? Secure storage of multiple data types. So the data, after once we collect the data, the raw data we collected, that should be kept securely in storage form, digital form, or all the information we have collected. That's how we keep it in the storage of multiple data types. Also, we need to be very clearly, securely we have to store it. And then, for example, we see a survey found stress, low stress, but the interview show high stress. What do you report? Because if this is study done through the exponential sequential design. So first we conducted a survey. The survey, that's an interview schedule. Through that showing that it's a low stress among the participants. But after that, I found that the interviews, the qualitative study shows that high stress. In that sense, how are you going to report it? For that, we see the present study, the surveys indicate the relatively low levels of reported stress. However, the qualitative interview data reveal noticeably higher levels of emotional and psychological strain. The divergence suggests that the standardized survey instrument may not have captured the context-specific dimension of stress that participants described during the interview. That's what we need to keep it in mind here. There are possibility of divergence suggests that standardized survey instrument may not have captured the context-specific dimension of the stress. That's why there are noticeably higher levels of emotional and psychological strain. We get it through qualitative study findings. One explanation may be social disability, or another explanation may be the social desirability or tendency to underreport stress in self-determined questionnaire, whereas the rapport established in qualitative interview allows the more open disclosure. Sometimes there are possibility of, if I giving ask the respondents to, respondents to fill the self-estimate questionnaire, maybe the respondent may not given the proper response. But at the same time, if you have a rapport when it comes to qualitative data study, if you have a rapport with the participant, there are possibility of open disclosure about actually the participant is undergoing that emotional psychological strain or not. They're having a high level of the possibility to get. That's what then we have interpreted together. These findings undergo the value of integrating quantitative and qualitative approaches to obtain a more comprehensive understanding of participants' stress experiences and highlight the need for culturally contextually sensitive assessment tool that can be interpreted as like. And we can combine our interpretation. When we are interpreting, we can interpret it this way. So this is also whatever. That's what when we have a contradictory results. The third one we can see the contradictory results. That should mean we have to be deal with the ethical. This way we can, because due to this the quantitative findings we got it this, but qualitative we got it like in quantitative level. Due to this also, due to this might be happen. That's what I see here. The self-estimate questionnaire maybe under-report stress in the whereas the report established in qualitative interviews allowed to the more open disclosure that can be given in the form also. That through this way we can results also we can manage contradictory results also we can manage ethically in this way. So managing ethical challenges. So how we are going to have this managing the ethical challenges when it's come to mixed method. So already we have seen there's a separate consent form, reduce participant load. So that's what you need to determine how you are going to like getting information from the participants. So I cannot force any participants to give the more of information. We cannot force or any kind of we have to be voluntary form of information collect from the respondent. That's what the reduce the participant load and de-identify before integration. That's what. So if you have an identity, there are possibility to reveal the identity of the participant. That's what we want to de-identify before integration. And mixed data management plan. So how we are going to mixed management data plan also we need to have a proper whether we have to follow the procedure of each method. Depends upon the design which we are using it. Through the procedure we are supposed to follow. And then ethical triangulation of thing. Another thing is include community voices in a transformative framework. Transformative framework is mainly for social justice or empowerment of the marginalized communities. That's what these transformative research designs we are using it. That's what that's why we are even here include the community voices also. That sometimes there are chances while you're doing a mixed method research. And ethics review checklist specific to the mixed method. Ethics review also we need to, that should be, we're supposed to have a ethical checklist specific to the mixed method also we're supposed to follow. Through this way only we can manage the ethical challenges in the mixed method. And quality standard overview. That's what we have the quality applied to the quantitative, qualitative, and integration. All these things we are going to see now. And first one is the quantitative quality standard. Reliability about the tool which you are using for. So previous two sessions we already have a quantitative data collection, qualitative study, designs, and then qualitative also. Quantitative quality already study. So when we are going with quantitative study, obviously we should have the tools to have the study. We should have the reliability and validity. The study data should have the reliability and validity. I don't want to explain in detail about what is reliability and validity. So the quantitative quality standard should maintain this reliability about the data and validity also. And then sampling adequacy. How are we having sample? Whether we are following. So the sampling should be done as accordingly with the accordance with the methods of particular quantitative study. And the standardized tool. That's what the standardized. If you're using for any standardized tool, that's what we keep it in mind. Whether you obtain the proper permission to use standardized tool. If it's open access, no need to worry. If the standardized tool need permission from the respective author, we need to always obtain the permission from the standardized tool, permission from the author for you using your standardized tool. Whether the standardized tool by translation. If you're going for a translation of standardized tool, for that also you need to get obtain information from permission from the author, concern author. Because once you're you are translating a particular tool into your regional language, or from the respective tool is developed from any particular language, from that to English or any thing, there also you need to follow certain properly you have to procedure because the translating, and then after that going for reliability of the tool, whether the items are, that's separate procedure is supposed to follow. That's what you need to keep it in mind. How we are using the standardized tools and the reliability of data and validity about the data and sampling adequacy about all these things, we need to keep it in mind. The qualitative is likewise, qualitative also, the credibility about the data which we are collecting, and then dependability and transferability, reflexibility, and member checking. How the data is reflectable and transferability, whether the transferability is there, that's what you need to keep it in mind. Whether this information we collected through the qualitative study, so how the data has been maintained, whether the credibility is there, whether how are we, same way that the data collection process, how we are maintaining, that's what we need to keep it in mind. And then after once going with integration, we are collecting with qualitative or quantitative ones, the integration is very important. How in clear rationale of our mixing. How we are mixing these both quantitative and qualitative data. Whether depends upon the sequential, concurrent, or multi-phase mixed method designs. So it depends upon that only how clearly you have to mention rational, how you want to mention whether we are giving quantitative or qualitative, how are you mixing, that should be clearly mentioned. And then design purpose, and that's what the previous one also they explained design purpose alignment, like depends upon that only you have to integrate the strong integration. So the integration always whether we have to match, combine, connect, or embed. That's what you're going to do. Whether we have the data for findings of the results of both quantitative and qualitative, whether we have to combine or connect, we have to connect the other element within both data results and then embedded within the one in the embed one in the other. That's what we need to keep it in. How are we strongly integrating the results? And then logical meta inferences. So logical meta inferences, whether all this information analysis part, whether logically done. That's what we're given. And transparent reporting of mixing point. So whether this transparent reporting of mixing point, that's what. So certain designs, for example, explanatory sequential design, we may collect from the quantitative. After once the data collection and the results over, then we'll go for qualitative study. So the qualitative study, we may not go for any quantitative results, study results. We'll go for any unexpected results alone. We'll go for this qualitative study. So that's what we need to have this reporting of mixing point. How we want to have this particularly, we want to collect from the particular unexpected results from the quantitative one. We have a qualitative study. So how we are going to mixing this, interpreting this particular report results, quantitative results with the qualitative. This is the findings, how we are going to interpret. That's what it will transfer. You have to mention why you are doing this. And common quality threats. Yeah? Then common quality imbalance rigor, poor integration, weaker sampling alignment, over interpretation, poor design justification, lack of justification of mixing. These things happen when the researchers not enough to have a knowledge on quantitative or qualitative, then mixed. If the researcher is not having proper knowledge or understanding about what is this research method which the researcher is using, then obviously these things may happen. Imbalance, rigor, consistency, and then poor integration. So if, for example, if the researcher is chosen for the study, explanatory research design, sequential design, without, there already clearly mentioned about the research, clearly mentioned, clearly even in the results has been interpreted only about the quantitative alone, without giving a proper explanation of the results about qualitative means. That is also might be there are research also done. So they will start. That's what previous sessions I told you, because nowadays the people who are doing mixed method research, MMR, they mainly using this explanatory sequential design. But sometimes what happen when we are going for real analysis part, there are possibility of like they're lacking in the integration part. The integration part should be mentioned. This integrating the quantitative findings, the qualitative finding, there are possibility of that's also you need to keep it in mind. So that's a quality threat. And then weaker sampling alignment. So the selecting sampling, how we are going to select that, how are we selecting the possibility, and then over interpretation. Sometimes this also might be happen. Poor design justification. So it depends upon the statement of the problem and then research. Particular research needs some design, but in order to sometimes the researcher convenience may opt for some other research design. So that not be done. It depends upon the research need only. We have to focus on which we have to select the which particular research we opt for the particular study. So like that only you have to keep it in mind. And lack of justification of mixing. So it depends upon the study decision only go for mixing. So sometimes what we do for analysis without consider about the design, we have own convenience, own convenience will just mix and then submit its interpretation over, we'll submit the research. So that's not the case. So we have to ethically, we need to keep it in mind why we want to follow this, why we want to adopt this particular research design. When we are adopting it, how we supposed to integrate the analysis the data, and then how we supposed to integrate the both data and then mixing. That will be keep it in mind. And yeah, and now we need to keep it in mind. Now keep it in mind this. This is from the Trashwell fifth edition book on research design and mixed method. It's already clearly mentioned. There might be what are the ethical issues might be occur when we are doing research when it's come to that. Start with the prior to conducting research till the reporting also already mentioned. So I just to give overview this already it's available in the fifth edition of Threshold book on mixed method. So before studying conducting a study, there might be a examine what are the types of research ethics, ethical issues might be there, how to address those issues also is already mentioned this book. Examine the professional association standard. There might be you can go for consider the code of ethics in professional association in your area or in your institution. Or you seek university or college approval, campus through institutional review board. Sometimes the review board here, when it's come to India, we have mentioned as a institutional ethical committee. Institutional ethical committee is we have to submit a proposal for institutional at the IEC in order to get approval for conducting our own particular research when we are dealing with the human form studies and to gain the local permission from the site from participants. Obviously, when we are going for collecting data from the particular area where we need to get a people's participants, permission also needed. So for that, we need to find the gatekeeper. There's a key informants. Key informants, if you find out the key informant, there are possibility in order to release the data collection, like issues also. And then select the site without vested interest in the outcome of the study. Sometimes there are chances for the researcher in order to power issues might be the selected site that the researcher. The local, if you're going for any research in the area, that's also we need to keep in mind. Formal, informal leaders also we have to keep it in mind that the government side you have to get approval for collecting data also that's what we keep in department wise also even the from welfare departments we need to get information in order to collect the data. So that also you always focus on it. Negotiate authorship or obligation, this is another thing is give credit for the work done to the project, decide on the author, order in the future application. I think this will be done by the last session of the workshop. So the authorship, regarding authorship is another ocean actually. This so it's like author getting publishing and perishing is another because business is happening. How whether are we doing ethically, that also We need to keep it in mind. And then when we are starting that time, how they identifying the research problem that benefits the participant. Always you need to have whether the conduct a need assessment or informal conversation with the participant about their needs, and whether you have a disclosed purpose of the study, contact participants and inform them about general purpose of the study. Then we have this, disclose purpose of study. Then if we are informed, that's why informed consent. This is about the informed consent is clearly mentioned. Another one is the pensionable needs of the vulnerable population, like the children. That's what when we have to find out that obtain the appropriate consent. The previous question I asked, somebody already answered, like whether the parents, if the parents is there, go for parents. As well as children also need to consent. If the parents is not there, the guardian also we need to get obtain a proper consent. That's what I need to consider. Then this how he can avoid the ethical issue during the, because another thing is the collecting data time. What are the ethical issues might be happen. So how to overcome it? So another thing I just want to know, avoid deceasing participants, because sometimes the discuss of the study and how the data will be used. There's another important one. Avoid leading questions. Sometimes what will happen when we are collecting data, just to give you an overview, when we're going for data collection with the participant, we're going directly dealing with the collecting data from the respondents. That time we always have a, in the form we have to develop rapport with the participants, and then kind of storytelling way we need to have a conversation way we need to collect the data. When we are having one-to-one, like asking like objective questions, then it will be difficult to get a collector. Yeah, that's like collecting the data. And then sometimes another thing is avoid disclosing sensitive information, involve participants as a collaborators. And do not use participant by gathering data and leaving site. That's what another important ethical issues, like provide rewards for participating. That's what I already previously said. Compensation I already mentioned, whether monetary or non-monetary benefits. Because once we are involved in the researchers, the participants are giving information data for our own research. So obviously we need to give some rewards for participating. That's what the monetary and non-monetary in terms of gifts, vouchers, or credit, any form we can do this way. They might be feel something satisfied with after participating this research, our own research. Avoid collecting harmful information. Sure. Stick to the questions stated on the interview protocol. That alone you need to. That's what when we once we got approval from the Institute Ethical Committee, obviously they might have checked all these things, whether this particular research may not harmful towards our participants in at that time. So then after once you already undergone that process, then only coming for collecting data. Then obviously you need to stick to the question stated to an interview protocol alone. You need to focus. Then it will be easier. If not, if anything, any information which is lacking, if you are during the data collection time, if you have any harmful questions we asked to the participant, that may leads to some issues during your study. Then analyzing data, this is another important thing. Avoid siding with the participants. So that's not be done. Report multiple perspective, report contradictory findings. If any findings comes, like one of the previous example is in the low for quantitative studies was the low stress, but the qualitative so higher means that also will be reported. So nothing wrong in it. Whatever comes in your study findings, that should be, you have to give contrary findings. What is wrong in it? Because what if you are doing, if you are done genuinely, you can give the research findings in the contrary findings, no need to worry. Just give. And then another thing is avoid falsifying authorship evidence. Once the data collection over, reporting time, avoid falsification authorship, evidence, data findings, and conclusions. Another important, because from the starting, I'm saying honesty. Honesty is important one. That's what report honestly. Even this sixth edition is there, we have a seventh edition also is the APA also. If APA guidelines already given, whether how to the guidelines for permission needed to reprint or adapt the work of others also APA guidelines, you can check over on it in terms of how to overcome it in this plagiarism part. Avoid disclosing information that would harm participants. Use composite stories that individual cannot be identified. This was from the qualitative one, like when we have qualitative the composite. It was a story kind of form. If you have started writing it, it may be common stories, individual identification may not be come to the point. And then communicate in clear, straightforward, appropriate language. Use unbiased language appropriate for audience of the research. That's another important one. Share the data with others. Sometimes that might be also happen. That should not be happening. Provide copies of reports to the participant and stakeholder. Share results with the other researcher. Consider website distribution. Consider publication in different form. You should not be given our raw data and other procedures, but we can go for give the raw data only to the publication. If you're going for any publication there, maybe we can give for our data for analysis process, we can give for publication, because nowadays the research journals are asking for the data, the provide how we have done this, collecting data and collecting process, analyzing what they are asking, then we can give it. Nothing wrong and voluntary, we give better honestly, nothing wrong in it. That data will be stored in the kept, stored in the securely also, securely, not securely, securely. If we are following, if we are already getting informed from consent from the participant. And then this, I think with this, I just wanted to go one of the, publication for study, recent study on the publication of India, indexed in the Web of Science. It's a study name, analytical study from Dhruv Kumar and Chandrasekhar to 2025. They have done study from the 1989 to 2003. They study Web of Science journals, like published in Web of Science, indexed also. After indexed only, these are the publication will be retracted. See due to ethical issue only. The results reveal the significant portion of the paper are published in Q1 journal. That's out of it, like 28.2% papers in the Q published in Q1 is retracted. Q2 is like 32.62. That is the 339 journals, papers, not journal, papers, the rank journals have been withdrawn. And one of the half retracted journal, 528 or 50.82 published in the journal with impact factor less than 1. Next is chemistry and the computer science are the top two subjects in the highest number of retracted articles. From the 1989 to 2023, the Web of Science. Notable 198 articles were retracted within the year of their publication, within the year 198, but closely from 178 article within 1 or 2 years. Interestingly, after a decade, after 10 years, only 60 articles were retracted, and 1,039 articles got 17,919 citation with an average of 17.24 citation per article. After that only there's been retracted. Think about it, like total of 4,329 authors contributed 1,039 articles. These 1,039 articles contributed by the 4,329. The majority 929 article, that is 89.1 redacted article by co-authored by 2 to 10 authors, and most of the articles 749 were retracted for multiple reasons. And another important one, I think these are somewhat related to the last session of that, will be explained detailed. I just wanted to highlight these are the things reason to the ethical one. See, 413 articles were retracted due to plagiarism, which encompass the duplication and plagiarism of article, data, text, and images. Think about it. I hope our name should not be fall on this. That's what I wanted to instruct all of you. If you're done any of your research with the honesty, should be, if you are doing with honesty, then obviously these things should not become. And before conclude, I just want things to be considered before doing a research, your own motivation about your research, why you want to do this particular research, how could you link your sponsors, personal conviction or career aspiration, produce conflict of interest, and concern. Whether you do have a concern, informed concern, and necessary information, understanding, voluntary, competence of potential participant, and actual concern. So all these things you need to keep it in mind. And confidentiality, another important one, collecting information like identity about the participants, and then keeping the data. Who has the access to your data? How will it is stored? What will happen after the research is completed? How are you going to inform your informants of the confidentiality? All these things you need to keep it in mind when you are going with confidentiality. I think these are the things we already discussed in detail. Now I just given black and white about like how we are supposed to remember. Another is harm. Could your research cause physical and psychological, cultural, financial, and legal environmental damage? That's also you keep it in mind. How easily can participants withdraw from the research after it begins? Because I have as a researcher, I should either inform the participants about they can leave, withdraw from any time after one start the research. Whether as a similar studies has been done before also, you need to keep it in mind. And cultural awareness, like a cultural sensitivity also one important factor also when we are going with participants. Like have you considered the personality, rights, belief, and ethical views of your research individual and community also indicated. Destination and feedback. Are results available and comprehensive to the participants? That's what the participants has a right to see the data and the result anytime because they are the one given the data for the research. They have a right to see, to seek the information. Could they be misinterpreted or misused the information, the data? Who owns the results? You or your sponsor? The results, because the raw data owned by the participants, but the analysis results are owned by you or your sponsor, the funding agency. That also you keep it in mind. Destination feedback. Would you wish to be treated as you are treating your research participants? That also you have to keep it in mind. Another one. Would you wish to be treated as you are treating your research participant? When we again, if you are still repeating, when we are going with research participant, how are we treating your research participants? Also, you have to keep it in mind. I think this is the final one takeaway points. I just wanted to say importantly, each ethics, when it's come to ethics, is differ at any stage of mixed method. And we are going for mixed method research, the ethics, because we are mixing both. We are going with, whether sequential or concurrent, embedded or multi-phase design is differs because of ethics, because of quantitative study, it has own ethics, qualitative is own ethics. We need to, when we are going to doing a mixed method research, obviously we need to have this ethics also, we need to multi-layer. That's also you need to always keep it in mind. The second one is the quality must cover both strengths and integration. We need to always think like, both design, whether quantity methods, so quantitative or qualitative, the quality should be maintained and during the study, data analysis, and the findings with the integration also. The integration also we need to keep it in mind. How are we integrating this information quality? The ethical consideration should be followed. And then mixed method demands transparency and rigor. That's a consistency. So obviously you need to keep in mind mixed methods always demands transparency and rigor, the consistency. So that's what. So mixed method research. If when we are doing any mixed research in mixed method, we are adapting mixed method. Always think about transparency. It's not only mixed method, even quantitative study or qualitative study. This transparency rigor is very important. With this, I'm concluding. These are the bibliography about the thing. Now we have a question and answer. If you have any doubts, you are free to ask me. If not, you can put it in the chat box.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Arul sir. It's a beautiful presentation highlighting the ethical issues while doing the research on the mixed method approach. And dear participants, now the floor is open for discussion. And those who want to ask your doubts, you are free to ask your doubts. Yes, now you can unmute yourself and you can ask your questions. Meanwhile, if you want to text help, you are permitted to ask your questions through chat box also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. My name is Mariam Bam, and I'm from Rajiv Gandhi University, Arunachal Pradesh. And my question is, sir, regarding ethical issues specific to mixed method research. Sir, the point you said about role conflicts between interviewer and analyst. So, how will that conflict arrive? Like, are they supposed to be two different person, or a one person will be like in charge of both interviewing and analyzing the questionnaire or the survey?
Okay. You asked about the role conflict. I mentioned when it's come to if the researcher, if we are dealing with vulnerable sect, the researcher is not in the position to collect the data from the respondents. During that time, he's supposed to follow. We will use enumerator. Enumerator means is supposed to mention the enumerator because if as a person, as a researcher, I may not, for example, women respondents participants are there. For women participation, I am not participants. Some in a vulnerable groups, I'm not in the position to have a sensitive topics if I research in the sensitive way, sensitive topic field we are working on it. So that kind if I can as a male respondent, male researcher, I may not go and get the information, collect the information from the woman respondent. For that, we have a enumerator. Enumerator means the woman enumerator means as a researcher, we have a they may train the people in terms of our research. They may collect the data on behalf of the researcher. For them, it's like that time what happened. As a researcher, I am the researcher, but on behalf of me, we have a training to the researcher collecting data for on behalf of the researcher. The enumerators, they will go and collect the data. Sometimes enumerators, sometimes there are possibility the enumerator may not get the proper understanding about the research. Actual research, there are possibility from the enumerator, the bias, erase the bias, or the data which I collected from the respondents, may be lacking also. So that's why there are possibility of the role conflict maybe happen, and then may not get the exact response from the participants by through the enumerator. That might be also happen. That's what. And then after once we are going with the analysis also sometimes. And then another thing is I told you when we are going for a research analysis time, even the researcher may not be equipped in order to analyze also. We may get help from some other consultant also. That time also there are possibility. As a, not only the PhD study, even for the project also sometimes we may get the help from the analyst, research analysts also. For them, there will be what we expect for analysis. They may go for like there are possibility of issues may be arise. That's what I wanted to say. There are when we are going for the conflict, there are different ways of the. These are the simple examples I can convey.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So my next question is like, how will the power imbalance in qualitative interviews like be balanced? Like,
Yeah.
how will we maintain for our calculation? Or
Power calculation is not about that. Actually, when it's come to power, how we are going to power influence in the qualitative study, whether the researcher or the participants to whom we want to given, whether I already informed consent. So the information we given about the research, the first thing, the information which you are given to the participants about what is the importance of research, whether the seeking information and the consent about assent, we need to get it from the participant, and whether we should give the freedom to volunteers, whether they need to give the participants, they have a freedom to do the information at the same time. We should, as a researcher, should not force in any form find out time. And another important one, just a minute. And then the relation between the researcher and the participant should be maintained in the clear manner. That's what I want to do, in simple manner. And the limitations. As a researcher, we supposed to be have our own limitation, and then participants, the information which you want to collect, that alone we need to keep it, and we should not over go with the research when it's come to participants, from the participants.
Okay, thank you, sir. My request
If you want, I
is
can give in detail about this power role in after that, because we don't have much time.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
So my request is to the host to disable, to enable the chat box for everyone, as it has been disabled. So I think some participants may want to
that's-
ask question in the chat box, but it has been disabled. So thank you.
Sir Bennett, sir.
Yes, sir. Please tell me, sir.
Sir, can you unmute the chat box, because the people are not in position to put it in the chat box. That's what she told now.
Okay, sir. We have unlocked.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We have unlocked.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you so much, sir, for the beautiful presentation. In case we have to thank all the participants for listening all the lectures very patiently and successfully. We have completed 7 days. Still, we have 7 more days to complete, and we have completed 15 hours of this workshop. Remaining 15 hours left. Requesting you all to cooperate. And from tomorrow onwards, we have a expert Professor Dr. Ambati Rayudu Rao, and he will be talking about data analysis through SPSS as well as NVFOs. And he is the one who is having the authority original version of all those softwares with the proper keys. So from tomorrow onwards, remaining all the 6 days, he'll be taking care of the session and he'll be giving you homeworks. Please take a note of the homework and please do the needful accordingly. Yes, Suchitra ma'am, we will provide this PPT once the resource person send it to us. Definitely will forward in the group. And thank you so much, Dr. Arulak Praveen Krisara sir. We are very happy to be with you, and such a short time you have reached your goals, and we are happy for that. And
Thank you, sir.
we are seriously praying for you that God will give you a super serious question in the upcoming level. Definitely,
Yes, sir.
we also expecting you to go with a beautiful n number of projects and proposals. See you in the highlights of the pipeline, sir. And
Thank
God
you,
will
sir.
make a way where there seems to be no way. And
Okay,
once
thank
again,
you.
thanking you all the participants for your beautiful cooperation and what was that your love and towards all the resource person. It is not only to the one person alone and all the resource persons. So with this few word, let me conclude my speech by saying thank you and God bless you. Good night. Take care. I'm ending